today I'm going to be creating my own United States versus Russia scenario. I don't see a war like this happening anytime soon, so I felt like creating my own thing. I don't know how a war like this would start. I mean, I could make it so like Russia invades Ukraine, but that would lead NATO to join, and that would just turn into World War III. I don't want to make this into World War III, because that would ruin the whole purpose of USA versus Russia. So let's begin. So we have Russia declaring war on the US. So we have Russia declaring war on the United States. At this point, other countries are starting to freak out because Russia just declared war on the US, which means there's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be crazy. Right as soon as the war breaks out, Belarus joins in on Russia's side, since they and Russia have a close alliance. Kazakhstan also joins in on Russia's side. Armenia is going to join in on Russia's side, which is going to cause Azerbaijan to join in on the blue side. So the invasion of Armenia begins. Also, I can't draw what that country is occupied, because if I try to do that, it'll just take up the entire thing. So just act like that, they are invading. So Armenia is quick to knock out this area, and a full-scale invasion of Azerbaijan begins. Russia attacks Azerbaijan from the north, as they're also being backed up by Kazakhstan. Eventually, Azerbaijan continues to be pushed back, with Russia helping out Armenia, which is going to make it a bit difficult. So eventually Azerbaijan continues getting pushed back. Eventually they take Baku. After the fall of their capital, Azerbaijan surrenders. Some of the US's closest allies are Canada, the United Kingdom, and France, so I'll put them on the US's. So now the Canada, the United Kingdom, and France are now all on the US's side. I'm not going to put NATO in this war, because if I add NATO to the war, then it will just turn into World War III. So I'm not going to put NATO in the war. Meanwhile, South Korea and Japan both join in on the US. And with that, North Korea declares war on South Korea, and the invasion of South Korea is started. North Korea was prepared for this, because they already knew that they were going to get involved and invade, so North Korea was already prepared. They already started steamrolling through South Korea and eventually are at the gates of Seoul. However, South Korea's army was stationed near Seoul. So with that, they start pushing back. They're also being backed up by Japan. Meanwhile, all the Central Asian countries join in on Russia's side. Russia and North Korea send China an offer for them to join the war. However, since they don't want to make this into World War III, China refuses. However, China will send supplies such as food and weapons. Meanwhile, over in Europe, Poland joins in on the blue side in order to stop Belarus from pushing in. And with that, we also have Germany and Spain joining in on the blue side. With Poland joining the war, this opens up another front for the blue side, which that's going to be really helpful, because since Poland joined the war, they now have a front to push into Belarus and probably try and take Moscow. So they begin. So right away, Poland knocks out Kaliningrad, and the invasion of Belarus begins. Back on the Korean peninsula, South Korea continues to push into North Korea. They are stopped, however, because Russia has sent in an army to help out North Korea. And so North Korea starts to push back South Korea. They do so pretty swiftly and start to capture Seoul. Eventually they capture Seoul and continue to invade. However, South Korea does not surrender. However, the US also sends troops to South Korea, which means that South Korea has an even bigger advantage, as Japan is also helping out, and so they start an assault. So they managed to start pushing back North Korea, start moving out and take Pyongyang, or Pyongyang, is that how you say it? Anyway, they continue fighting after North Korea, and eventually they make a landing. Eventually, they make a landing in the northern part of North Korea, and North Korea surrenders. This is how the map currently looks like right now. Just wanted to do a brief overview on the map. The United Kingdom starts to call on some of their former colonies, such as Australia and New Zealand. And New Caledonia will be on France's side, since it's technically one of France's colonies. In the Middle East, Turkey joins in on the blue side and begins an invasion of Armenia. They continue invading Armenia pretty swiftly and quickly capture Yerevan. Eventually, Armenia falls. After the fall of Armenia, Georgia joins in on the blue side, and Azerbaijan is liberated. Meanwhile, back in Europe, the blue side continues their invasion of Belarus and finally capture Minsk. Eventually, Belarus falls. Over in Asia, since North Korea has finally fallen, they can invade from both sides. So on the Russian-North Korean border, they start an invasion of southern Russia, while Japan starts an invasion of this Russian island right here. Soon, Japan knocks out the whole island, and they then, after the fall of that island, they launch an invasion of this area of Russia right here. They also knock out these islands of Russia right here, and eventually they also launch an invasion to the southern area of Russia. Meanwhile, back in Europe, they start an invasion of Western Russia, as they quickly start to swoop in and start getting closer and closer to Moscow. Russia has most of their troops going towards the west, since that's where the major cities like St. Petersburg and Stalingrad are. Eventually, the Battle of Moscow takes place. It is the bloodiest battle of the war, which actually does end in a Russian victory, and they do start to push back a bit. However, Russia's army at this point is really weak, so they don't get that far. Eventually, the blue side starts pushing back once again, and eventually the second battle of Moscow happens with a blue side victory. It is at this point where most of Russia starts to collapse, as their army is weakened and they've used a lot of resources. All of the Central Asian countries right here surrender over to the blue side. And eventually, Russia surrendered. So yeah, that is going to do it for my United States versus Russia scenario. I really hope you guys liked this video because it took a while for me to plan it out. So yeah, bye!